Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Terminator lab. This is the video number 30. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working now for 8 videos on how to deploy Windows 10 using the latest Microsoft deployment toolkit in conjunction or in addition to the Windows deployment services. So we will use these two tools to deploy Windows 10. Okay, so we have been following the footsteps of a documentation created by a YouTuber that has a YouTube channel that is called David Brother Barbarius. This guy has done a great lab concerning how to create an MDT and WDS and use it to deploy Windows 10. So we have done a great documentation. I urge you all to follow. It is very detailed, very organized, very easy to follow. Okay, so I have said before that I will follow his steps and I will add to it, and I will try to decrease some of the time needed to implement these steps. Anyway, so we have been following his steps. We have finished his first documentation, which is called prerequisites. This contains all of the things we need before beginning the lab. So we need to have ISO images for the Windows we need to deploy. We need some programs we need to set up on the Windows operating system. Okay, and then capture an image with the Windows 10 with these programs and a lot of things actually. And we need to download the MDT software, and we need to download something called ADK. Anyway, we have done this in the previous videos. We have downloaded all of the prerequisites and we have finished Daniel Brother Barbarius text file concerning the prerequisites. Now we are working with the second text file, which is called steps. These are the real steps to create the lab. These are the virtual machines, how many we will create, what are the operating systems we will install on these virtual machines, what are the roles or the server roles of these virtual machines. Some of them will be domain controller, some of them will be file server, some of them will be MDT. We have discussed this before, so we are still following his footsteps in the documentation called steps. So we have stopped the last time at this this part, which is set up the SQL Server 2019. Okay, so Daniel has downloaded SQL Server 2019 Express, and he need to install it. So to create the WSOS or to install with install the WSOS and make its database to be created on SQL database. Okay, so why he has done this? Because there is a problem that has arisen. I have already encountered it in my lab. When you try to install WSOS with the option of Windows internal database, an error appeared. Okay, so to solve this problem, I have already recorded a video how you can solve this problem. It involves some changing in some files. Anyway, Daniel Brother Barbarius have encountered or have solved this problem with a different approach. He have already neglected working WSOS with Windows internal database. Okay, he will use the second option, which is working WSOS with SQL database. Okay, so he is downloading and installing SQL Server database or SQL Server 2019 Express to create a WSOS database on it. In my lab, I have already installed WSOS with Windows internal database, or make it with Windows internal database. So I will not create WSOS on SQL database. So why I am installing this SQL database? Because I will create an MDT database on SQL database. Why I need to create MDT database on SQL database? Because I will save all of the machine names and other data related to my deployed machines. All will be saved in this MDT database. So in very simple steps, the machine will connect to the MDT server. It will begin installing the Windows 10 image, okay, that is stored on the MDT server, and it will take its name. So it will join the domain and take its name from the MDT database. So this is one of the advantages of using an MDT database. You can store on it all of the machine names that you need the machines to be renamed. So for example, I need machines when they join the domain not to be joining the domain with the default Windows name. I need to change, or the default computer Windows name. Okay, I need to change it. So this should be done automatically. How this can be done? By storing all of the machine names in the MDT database, and it will be taken by the machine. It will connect, or it will communicate with the MDT server, and then the MDT server will take the name of the machine from his database and deliver it to the machine. So this is basically one of the things why I need to install SQL database on the file server to use it in this specific purpose. And there is other purposes. I will discuss it when we go and begin working with the MDT. There is a lot of advantages when you are working with MDT database. Okay, so anyway, in this lab we will install the SQL database with a couple of functions. We will install it, and we will install the updates, and then we will use some users or assign some users to run the SQL Server services. And in this video also we will play with some group policies related to the WSOS. Some of them are related to, for example, allow automatic updates, immediate installation, automatic updates, detection frequency. Some of the things here Daniel is giving us, or he is recommending us to use these group policies to ease the operation of updating the deployed Windows 10 machines. So the deployed Windows 10 machines need to be updated. So this will ease the process of updating the Windows 10 deployed machines. Okay. So this is one of the things, or here there is a lot of things. So this is basically the two things we will discuss in this video. So let's go and see how this will be done. So if you go there and begin the video, so we can see we will go and get the SQL. We have already downloaded the SQL Express, but first we need to open the Oracle VirtualBox, and first of all we need to initialize or open the virtual machine that is acting as the primary domain controller, skn dc0122. This will take some time. Okay, so now we will log in using the domain admin account. Okay, and then we will type the username krauf. Okay, and put the password. This will be very straightforward steps. Installing the SQL database, there is some configuration to be done, and then updating it with the GDR update and the cumulative update, and then follow normal steps to configure some group policies related to the WSOS. Anyway, this is the file server, and now it is acting as a MDT server and WDS. Okay, so now we will make control or insert control alt delete. This is the welcome banner. So it's taking some time because the specs or the hardware specifications for my laptop is not that great. So I am assigning little processor and little RAM to most of my virtual machines. Just I can, or by doing this, I can create one or two or three virtual machines. I can create a couple of virtual machines. Okay, so now I'm logging in with the domain admin account. So now we can pause the video, and now we can go and get the source of, or the installation source files of the SQL Express. So we all know that all of our lab files are stored in a folder called MDT lab. Okay, and this is done and recommended by David Brother Barbarius. He is the one that had made this folder and provided us with a lot of scripts and useful things we will use when creating the MDT and WDS lab. Now we'll go to SQL Server and then copy the SQL Express, or initialize the setup file of the SQL Express. This will take some time. Okay, we can just run this a little bit quicker. So now we can see this is the interface, or this is the installation interface. We will click on New SQL Server Standalone Installation. This is the first one. So here we'll accept the license agreement, and then the normal setup process will continue. This is some global rules. I think these are certain configurations that will be applied. I think setup rules identify problems that may occur when you install SQL Server setup support files. Failures must be corrected before setup can continue. So this is a checking if there is any errors that we may encounter when we install the SQL Server setup support files. Okay, so this is one thing, or a good info, at least for me. I didn't know this. Okay, so check the rules. If there is any errors, it will notify us, and then it will try to update this SQL server. Anyway, we have already downloaded the SQL updates, so we don't need to check again. But if you left this lab, or you are working in a lab and you left it, for example, a long time, you didn't open the server or the virtual machine, maybe for 1 month, you need to check if there is any SQL updates in this period. So anyway, I have already downloaded the needed updates, so I don't need to check again through the Microsoft website. This is an error because I didn't check for updates, or could not search anyway, because I have already told him to skip the Windows update, the Microsoft update. Anyway, so tell him next, and then it will begin install set of files. Okay, so this will take some file, or some time, some time. Okay, product updates. So we have Microsoft update, product updates. So here we will need to decide where to put the SQL database. I will put it in the D partition. I have already another partition, and I will leave these two folders in the C, because these are shared features directory, and shared feature directory 60 or 86 bit. So I will leave these two on the C partition. This is normal, or this is a good practice, because if I try to change the location, there will be some problems. You can only change the instant root directory. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, so we will change it. I put it in the D partition. And I will make it not in program files. I will make it in a folder called Microsoft SQL Server. and then you can press tab, okay, and then next. So this will take a little bit of time. Tell him next, and then there is a couple of things we need to do. We need to identify which users or groups will be responsible for running the SQL Server services that will be responsible for making the database online and available. Okay, so these services, if they are not run or they are not initialized, the SQL database will not be online, okay, and we cannot access it. Okay, so let's wait for a moment and see what are these services. Anyway, this is the default database name. So if you try to access the SQL database, the named or the default name we will have for the database, specify the name and instant ID for the instant of SQL Server. Instant ID becomes a part of the installation path. Anyway, if you try to access, if you need to create any database, it will be SQL Express slash the database name. So this is the name that we should use, the instant name, okay? Instant ID, okay? We will see that when we try to create the MDT database, we need to tell him the instant name slash the database name, okay? Okay, let me see something here. I need to ask the AI about something here. Let's try, we can ask Google Bard, because here I need to, what is the difference? Is the difference between SQL Server name and SQL Server instant instance ID. Okay, this is something I need to ask him. So the SQL Server name is the human readable name that you can give to an instant of the SQL Server. Okay, so this is the human readable name. Okay, it is used to identify the instant when connecting to it. The SQL Server Instant ID is a unique identifier that is assigned to each instant of the SQL Server. It is used by the SQL Server software to internally track and manage the instant. Okay, by default, the SQL Server name is used as the instant IDs. Okay, however, you can specify a different instant ID when installing SQL Server. This can be useful when you want to run multiple instances of SQL Server on the same computer and you need to avoid name conflicts. Here is a table summarizing the differences between SQL Server name and instant ID. Purpose: human readable name for an instant of SQL Server. Unique identifier of an instant of SQL Server. How it is used to identify the instant when connecting to it. Used by the SQL Server software to internally track and manage the instant. Default name, the name of the instant. Default value, the name of the instant. The capitalized version of the instant name. Can be changed, yes. Can be changed, yes. Here is an example. Let's say you uninstall SQL Server on your computer and do not specify a custom instant name. In this case, the default instant will be MS SQL Server. This is for the normal SQL Server 2019, not the Express. The Express will be SQL Express. And the default instant will be also MS SQL Server. If you want to create a named instant, you can specify a custom name when installing SQL Server. For example, you can create a named instant called My Instant. In this case, the instant would name be My Instant and the instant ID would be randomly generated. Let's hope this can be okay. I didn't actually, I am not convinced with this answer, so let's see if we can get a better answer. He say that the instant ID and the server name are both with the same Why is my email blocked? Let's see if I try to tell him like that and tell him that Cloudflare model not found. Strange, very, very strange. Why it is blocked? Okay, I think there is something here. Okay, let's open ChatGPT and try to see if we can have an answer. Let's go and ask him like that. Okay, and see what will be the answer. Okay, a locally or friendly name used to SQL. This can be used. It is a user-friendly label that helps administrator and user to identify the local server, the locate the SQL, the unique identifier. So basically, they are the name or the name of the server. It is something, or they are the same function. Okay, it is the SQL server name, and at the same time, it is the instant ID of the database. Both are used. One is used internally, if I can imagine that, and the other is used as a friendly name. But let me see. I need to see if why I cannot access Cloud. Email blocked. Let's see if I can. Okay. Anyway, let's go to Ping and see if we ask him the same question and see what will be the answer. Okay, saying the SQL Server name and the SQL Server Instant ID are two different identifiers that are used to refer to the SQL Server installation. The SQL Server name is the name of the computer or server which SQL Server is installed. Okay, and it can be used to connect to the SQL Server. Let's just wait for a moment until he finishes all of the explanation. Okay, this is a lot. Anyway, so let's see what he's saying here. He's saying that the SQL Server name and the SQL Server Instant ID are two different identifiers that are used to refer to SQL Server installation. The SQL Server name is the name of the computer or server which SQL Server is installed, and it can be used to connect to the SQL Server from other applications and clients. The SQL Server Instant ID is a unique identifier that is assigned to each SQL Server instance during installation. It is used to locate installation directories and registry keys for that instance. By default, the instant ID is the same as the instant ID is the same as the instant name, but it can be changed during installation. The instant name can be either the default name, MS SQL Server, or custom name. A SQL Server can have multiple instant. Anyway, I think here is the same. The instant ID and the SQL Server name both are used or they are having the same function, is to connect to the database on SQL. Okay, I think this is it. So let's continue our video. Okay, here we will see that there is two services that are used to uh, make the SQL database online. So this is the first service, SQL Server Database Engine, okay, and SQL Server Browser. This is set to automatic, okay, and the one that will run this service is an internal Windows user, okay. This is, we leave it as it is, and the SQL Server Browser also, this is another service that it is disabled. We need to make it automatic, okay, and make this local user on the Windows to run it. Okay, we need to know what these two services do. Let's see, or let's ask the AI again and see what are these two services. Okay, let's go there and try to ask Google Bard. Let's see here, what is SQL Server? SQL Server database engine service, and what does it do? And another thing, I need to tell him grant perform volume maintenance task privilege. Let's see, and what if I check grant volume maintenance task privilege. Okay, to it, what does that mean? Let's see what will be the answer. Maintenance and privilege, and let's see what this means. The SQL Server is a core component of SQL Server, a relational database management system. It is responsible for storing, processing, and securing data. The database engine provides controlled access to the data and allows users to perform tasks such as querying, updating, and deleting data. Okay, this is the main function. It's to organize the accessing or to control the access to the database. The volume maintenance task privileges allows a user to perform tasks such as defragging and optimizing the volume. This privilege is typically granted to administrators and system users who need to perform these tasks. But it is now with this option we will grant it to we grant this task to the SQL Server database engine service. Okay, if you check the grant volume maintenance task privilege to the SQL Server database engine service, it means that you are giving the database engine the ability to perform volume maintenance tasks. This can be useful if you want the database engine to automatically defrag and optimize your volumes. However, it is important to note that granting this privilege can also increase the workload on the database engine, so it is important to use it judiciously. Okay, here are some of the things that SQL Server database engine service can do: create and manage database, store and retrieve data, process queries, enforce security, perform backups and restores, monitor performance, manage users and permissions. So this is a very critical service. If this service is not running, then most of your normal operation on the SQL database will not be performed. Okay, so this is one thing we need to put in mind. The SQL Server database the engine service is a critical component of Microsoft SQL Server. He's responsible, we have said this before, okay, he's repeating himself. Here are some of the benefits of granting. Again, he is repeating the same thing over and over again. Here is some risks. He's saying we are associating the volume defragmenting or volume maintenance. If this is some of the risks, the database engine can increase the workload on your system. We have said this before. It's not properly configured, it can damage your volumes. It is important to use the privilege judiciously. Again, he is repeating himself. So this is one good answer. We can give him a thumb up. Let's go and see the other service, which is SQL. What is the SQL Server browser service, and what does it do, and what if it is uh, changed from disable to automatic. To automatic, this is one thing. So the SQL Server browser service is a Windows server that listens for incoming requests for SQL Server resources and provides information about SQL Server instance installed on the computer. It's not required service, but it can be helpful in some cases. The SQL Server browser service listens on UDP port 1434 and accepts unauthenticated requests. This means that anyone can connect to the service and request information about the SQL Server instance on the computer. This can be a security risk, so it is important to carefully consider whether or not to enable service. I think this will be a very critical service to start because the MDT or the workstations to connect to the MDT database, this service should be running, okay? And I think it will not authenticate the workstations because this will be a headache. It will take some time, okay? So this is maybe why we are enabling this service. If the SQL Server browser service is enabled, it can make it easier to connect to the SQL Server instance. This is what I'm talking about. When you connect to the SQL Server instance using a tool like SQL Server Management Studio, the tool will first try to connect to the SQL Server browser service. If the service is running, the tool will get the information it needs to connect to the SQL Server instance directly. If the service is not running, the tool will have to use a different method to connect to the SQL Server instance, which can be more difficult. So, you stay, if it is disabled, you will still be able to connect to SQL Server instance. However, this will be a different approach. So, he is revising and uh, saying some advantages and pros and cons. Okay, easier, improve performance, increase security risk, can be a resource hog. Okay, so this is thumb up. So we can continue our video. Let's continue and see. So now we know the two services and what they are doing. Okay, we can grant the perform volume maintenance task privilege to the SQL Server database. Okay, now this is one of the things here, the access to the database. So you can access the database using a local user created on the database or through using the Windows users. So here we are using the mixed mode. We will use internal users created on the SQL database and through the Windows authentication or through using Windows users, okay, or Active Directory users. One of the most famous internal SQL users are SA. This is by default doesn't have a password, so during the installation of the SQL database, he will ask you to provide a password for this account. So here we will use the mixed mode. We will use the internal or SQL Server authentication, internal, and the Windows authentication. And here we will not give this or will not use this user to access the database, but we will use the group called SQL admins to access the database. Okay, SQL Server administrators have unrestricted access to the database engine. This we have already created a group for it. Okay, so now we will add the group called SQL admins. Thank you. Okay, I think I need to close. Just a moment, guys. Here we'll add the SQL admins, but let me first stop and close the Telegram. So now we will add this group, and now we will remove Karim Raouf. By the way, Karim Raouf is a user or a member of this group. Anyway, so now tell him next. And now we can go and continue our installation. Okay, now we can see all of the installation is complete. Now we can go and update the SQL software or the SQL Server software, okay, by installing the latest GDR update and the latest cumulative update. First of all, I need just to get the control panel icon on my desktop because I need to make sure that the firewall is disabled. As I said before, this will host now the SQL database, and I need the clients to be able to access the database easily without any interference from the firewall. Okay, so now we'll go to themes. Okay, go to themes and then go to desktop icons, icon setting. This will take some time. Now we can add the control panel icon, then apply and OK. Now we can see if the firewall is disabled or not. Now we have done a lot of things here. We have stopped here at this line to install the updates. First, the GDR. We have discussed before what is the GDR and what is the CU. Refer to the video concerning working with the prerequisites text file by Daniel Brother Barbarius. Now we can see that the Windows Defender firewall okay. Now we have finished that. We need to update first the GDR, install it. This will take some bit of time. If we can see here, this first this is a zipped file. He's extracting the installation files, and then he will begin the installation. Okay, it will take some time. Now let's go further. Wait for a moment. Okay, now we will accept the license agreement. Simple and straightforward. It will see if there is some files in use, if there is database is already using or it is already online. He need to make sure, because this update process will not work. He need to stop the database before doing that. Or he's saying here, as he says, that the following services and applications are using files that setup needs to complete the installation. To avoid the computer restart, stop the application and services. So I think here you need to stop the database. You need to have no access on the database during this update process. Anyway, so we'll continue. Okay, now we pause the video, and then now his file in use check complete. Then it will begin updating. Update. And then press pause or pause the video. Now the installation is complete. Now we can go to the other update, which is the latest cumulative update, SQL Server. Cumulative update. And after that we need to pin the SQL configuration manager. This is a console that you can use to check the services of the SQL server, okay, or the services concerning the SQL database. Okay, you can check if they are not running or running. Now we are installing the latest cumulative updates. The same process. So we can now pause the video until the installation is complete. Not the installation, checking if the database is in use, and stop it to update the SQL software. Now we can pause the video and succeed. Now we can pin the SQL configuration manager to the taskbar because we will use it later. Okay, this is the SQL server, and we will pin the SQL Server 2019 configuration manager. Okay, and the next step is to install the SQL Management Studio. This is the tool that we will use to browse the SQL database and create tables or delete tables from the database. This is the tool that we will use. Okay, so now we need to install the SQL Management Studio. Okay, now we can see the SQL, okay, MDT lab, and files, and then prerequisites, and then SQL Server, and Management Studio, and then MS Setup, or SSMS Setup. This will take some time. So now we pause the video and then open back. Now we will install the SQL Management Studio on the D partition, the same partition as the SQL database. Okay, and we will make it in the folder SQL Server Management Studio. And then install. Okay, it will take some time, so I think maybe we will pause the video. Here you can see that the SQL Management Studio can work with Azure database or with Azure Database Studio. So they have both in one, to work with local or on-premise database and with Azure Cloud Database. Okay, so this is one good info to know. Okay, so now we will pause the video. Now it is successfully installed. Then we need to install the SQL reporting service so we can get or run reports on the database. Okay, we can run reports on the database or the SQL database using SQL reporting services. First of all, we need first to pin the SQL Management Studio console. Okay, so here we can SQL Management Studio console. Here it is. Okay, and pin to taskbar. Okay, so now we need to install the SQL reporting service. Okay, this is SQL reporting service. SQL Server Reporting Services. So I think maybe we can run more quicker here. So again, so we'll install the reporting services. This will be an evaluation. Okay, this is for 180 days, and then we'll accept the license agreement. Next, we'll install reporting services only, and we'll leave it in the C. Okay, we'll not put it in the D partition. We will leave it as it is. Okay, install. Okay, now we need to configure the report server or configure report server just to begin the service of reporting. Okay, just it is like initializing the SQL reporting service. That's it. We will connect to the database and then we will initialize the reporting service. Okay, so that's it. So will take a little bit of time. Report server connection. Okay, we will connect. We will connect and then pause. Now it is already, you need to tell him to start and that's it. Exit. Okay, and now we will go further or we'll begin working with the WSOS group policies. We need to change a couple of things, but before that we need to run a certain script. This script will ensure that some services are running or are initialized. These services are very critical. One of these services is the SQL services. We need to make sure that it is always running, so my MDT database will be working and my deployment will work. And a couple of services also, I will include them in this script. I need to make sure that the WSOS services is up and running so I can update the Windows deployed machine during the deployment. Okay, and a couple of things you will see, this is a very useful script. You can use it to make sure that the most important services on your server is working. So this is a simple script. It will check if some services are started or not. If they are not started, then it will start them. So let's see the script. We will open it with Notepad. This is the script. So this is one of the useful scripts you can use, and this can be done one time and then it can be run on a scheduled time, or you can run it on a scheduled task to make sure that these services are running. So for example, I need to make sure that WSOS services is up and running, so the WSOS is running. Okay, then the Windows deployment services should be up and running. The SQL Server services should be up and running. All of these are important services. The script will check if they are running or not. If you go and see the script, you can see at the end that the script, it say get service state, or the get the service status. If it is stopped, then you need to start it. If it is not stopped, then you can avoid it. Okay, status equals stopped, start service. Okay, so this is the condition. Anyway, I will add another service to this collection. I will add the Windows internal database of the WSOS, because this service in my virtual labs are always delayed to start. Okay, so I need to make sure that they are always up and running, so I can use my WSOS to push updates to my clients and servers. Anyway, so we'll open a PowerShell to run this script. But before that, we can go to the Windows or Windows administrative tools to check the services. I need to take the name of the service and put it in the script. So I need to know the name of the Windows internal, database in the Windows services, so I can add it to the script of check services.ps1. So now we will open services. Okay, okay, so we'll go and to the partition that contains the script. It is in the D, and then if you type dot slash, that means that is in the root of the D, and then you can type CHE and press tab, so it will complete the name of the script automatically. Okay, or the name of the script file automatically. Okay, this is an let's say this is named auto complete service. Okay, so check service, and then we will stop at that and add an additional service. I need to add the Windows internal database service to this script. You see, we see it is in the root of the D. That's it. So again, I need to add another service. So I need to open the Windows administrative tools. You can go and open again, start, and then Windows administrative tools. Okay, and then the services. And then we'll pause the video, and then let's check the service that I need to start. It is called Windows internal database. If you go and see before running the script, we will see that the WSOS service is not running, so we will check the status after running the script. And then the Windows internal database is not running. Here, this I need to add it to the script. Okay, I need to make sure that this service is up and running. So this is the name of the service. Okay, the display name. We need to copy it and add it to the script. So this is a very useful script. We can run it one time, or we can schedule it to run in certain time intervals. So now we need to add it. Just add two commas or double quote, and then add the service, and then another double quote, and then comma, and then space. Okay, so this is how you can add services to the script. Now we need to save the script and then run it. Okay, so again, we need to check these services are not running, so we'll check them after the script runs. Okay, so we'll check them after the script runs. Okay, save, and then okay, now we need to run the script. Press enter. So we can see here that the Windows internal database is not running. It's still be initialized, and after a couple of times it should start. So if you go and check, we will see that the service is up and running. If you go there, this is the services, and here you go, this is the Windows internal database. It is running, and if you go down, this is the WSOS service. It's up and running. Okay, so now we can continue. Now we need to do a schedule task, okay, to run this script, okay, every, I can make it every day or every now and then, okay, but this is how you can run this script, or to run any script uh, on a schedule task through the task scheduler in Windows. Okay, so when you open the task scheduler, okay, this is the task scheduler, and then right click and tell him a new task, create task. Then we will choose to run it. First we will put the name, check services, and then we will assign a user to run this task. This can be the system because it has full control and full privileges on the system, and it can run even though you are not logged into the machine. You can be on the welcome page or on the login page. You didn't log with the user on the Windows. It can run even though you are not logged in. Okay, so we will use the system. Okay, and then we run with highest privileges, and it is configured for Windows Server 2022. So run with highest privileges, Windows Server 2022, and then we need to put the condition on which, or the conditions for the task to run. Should it run on a daily basis? Should it run one time? And how much time, or how to repeat the task. If you need to repeat, if it is failed or it doesn't work, how much, or how, what are the uh, turns, how much time you will run the task until it is succeeded. Okay, so it will take some time. Now we will run it one time here, but actually it is more logic to run it on a daily basis. Repeat the task. If it is not successful, every, let's say, every maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, for one day. For example, he is specifying the duration, repeating the task, and the duration of the repeating. Okay, so you can tell him in a daily basis, repeat the task every 2 or 3 hours during the day. Okay, so I will run it one time just for testing the script. Okay, repeat the task. Okay, for a duration of indefinitely for 1 hour, but this is one time, so this will not be the case. If it is successful from the first time, then you don't need to repeat the task. Okay, or here he will check the services every 1 hour. Okay, but I think no, this is only one time, so you cannot repeat the task. It is here, if it is not successful, it will repeat it. It will repeat it every 1 minute, for example. Okay, and then the action, we need to tell him new, and then we will tell him the location of the script. Okay, first we need to type PowerShell. Okay, this is the command, and then type minus file. This is the location of the file, or the location of the script. You need to make sure that you have their execution or PowerShell execution policy to be set to bypass. Okay, this is one thing you need to make sure it is already there, and I have already done this. So we will can take right click, and using shift you will have this copy as pass option. Okay, so we'll put it there, copy as pass. Okay, and then okay. So this is how to start or to make a schedule task. Okay, so now we can pause the video, and then conditions, we don't need to make it on power because the server is already on power, so you don't need this, or uncheck that and then tell him okay. And then we can try to run the task. Right click and run. Make a refresh, then make a refresh again. Okay, he is still running because the task is still running. You tell him refresh. He is saying the operation has failed, but when you make another refresh, it will take, or it will, you will see that the operation is successful. You make another refresh, you will take the operation is successful. Okay, let's go there. Okay, so now you are good to go. Now we can complete the steps text file. We can go now and configure some WSOS policies. But before that, before going to the group policies of the WSOS, we need to create two folders. We will use it later when we begin working with the MDT. We need to create two folders, one called capture share, another called deployment share. This is a very important two folders we will use during working with the MDT software. So I will tell you why we need them later, but you need to create them. We will put them in the MDT partition. We have said before that we have created the capture or the share. We have two folders in the share, something called deploy and share. We have said why we do that, but for these two I will tell you what is the purpose when we begin working with the MDT. Okay, so these are the two folders that will contain all of the scripts and the necessary scripts that the MDT will use. Okay, don't worry, and we need to share them. Okay, so don't worry, when we come to this we will say what is the purpose. Now we need to share them, and this share should be hidden. Okay, it will be the share name will contain at the end the dollar sign to hide the share, and then we need to give permissions. We remove everyone and add the mdt.build user. and the system and the domain admin group. Give them all full control over these two folders. Okay, check name. Okay, okay, MDT build, we give them full control, system full control, and the same for the security permissions or NTFS permissions. Okay, so apply and okay. Need to go to security and then edit. We will add the same users. Okay, and give them the same permissions and repeat the process on the second folder. Okay, and then apply and okay. And go to the deployment share properties and then sharing. And make this same. This share folder will be hidden, and then we'll add the same users with the same permissions. Okay, we give them full control, MDT build full control, system full control, apply and OK, apply and OK, security, edit, add, system, MDT.build, and the domain. This is for the security permissions. Okay, apply and OK, and we'll do the same, add and add. Okay, full control for every one of them. And then after that we can go and configure the WSOS group policies. So we have finished that. We need to go to the domain or the primary domain controller and begin configuring some group policies. For example, allow automatic updates, immediate installation, automatic update frequency. Let's go and do that from the primary domain controller. If you go there and Control Alt Delete, okay, insert Control Alt Delete, and then okay. Then we put the domain admin account. Then the password. And okay. And then pause the video and then open the admin console and then begin configuring the WSOS group policy. We have two WSOS group policies, one for the clients and one for the servers. We will configure both. So go to the domains, and then this is the group policy management console. Then we'll go to the group policy objects, and then we will configure a WSOS policy and WSOS servers policy. We will edit. Let's see how much battery I have. I think I have maybe 22 minutes. Okay. So let's see if we can finish before that. Now we opened the group policy, and then we need to open the policies, then preferences, okay. This will take a little bit of time. Okay, we will go to Windows updates. Okay, here you go. Again, no, let's go further. open administrative templates, and then Windows components. I think it will take some time. Okay, let's wait and see. Okay, we can pause the video. Okay, and then we'll open Windows components, and then to go to Windows updates. Okay, Windows update, and then we can arrange them by alphabetically. Okay, before that we need to configure automatic updates to include other Microsoft products, not only updates for Windows operating system, but for other Microsoft products. Install updates for other Microsoft products. This is a good option to choose. And then we auto download and schedule the install. This is for the clients. As for the servers, we will choose a different option. Apply and OK. And now we need to arrange them alphabetically. Here, this option, if the updates will not interrupt Windows services or doesn't need a restart, so you can install the updates immediately. This is a good option, I think, or this is a good thing to enable. Okay, we'll tell him allow automatic updates, immediate installation. This is a good thing. Specify whether automatic updates should automatically install certain updates that neither interrupt Windows services nor restart Windows. Okay, so this is a good one. Tell him enable. So this is a good thing. I need to see how much time I have. I think I have 17 minutes. Okay. Anyway, so we have enabled this. Then I will not automatic configure or automatic detection frequency. The default one is after 22 hours. So every client will communicate with the WSOS to check for updates after 22 hours. If you need to make it in at less time, okay, you can make it by enabling, make it 1 hour, for example. This will make a lot of headache or a lot of network consumption, I think, or a lot of network traffic. So I think 22 hours is good. And I didn't use this group policy in my network, so I think this is best practice. Okay, not to configure it. Okay, maybe in a deployment environment, maybe this can be a good option. Okay, to make the deployment process more faster. Okay, so we can see there is a lot of things here. We need to do the same with the servers, so we need to do that with the servers. Okay, this is for the clients. We need to go and do this for the WSOS policy for the servers. Okay, okay, so we need to go and do this for the servers as well, and then we will run a certain script. Also, this is done by David Brother Barbarius. This is a script that will push the server or the client to communicate with the WSOS, okay, and try to get some updates, okay, or not to get some updates, to initialize a connection between the server or the client and with the WSOS server. Okay, just to change or to change the configuration of the server or the client by not checking the Microsoft website directly, but to check now or to communicate now with WSOS. This is the script that will do that. And then after running this script, we will initialize a Windows update from the client or the server, and then we will run a certain command to record the client or server with the WSOS database or inside the WSOS internal database. Okay, So now again we are checking install updates for other Microsoft products, applying OK, and then I think we will not do anything else. I think here I have so much stuff, 15 minutes. Okay, anyway, I think I have some time. Anyway, so now we have done this. Then we need to make a group policy update, and then we need to run the script. Okay, so this is the default domain or default domain controllers policy. We need to make sure about the Windows update policy in here, or concerning the WSOS policy, because here uh, this will be applied to the domain controllers, and the other WSOS server policy will apply to the other servers. Okay, so you need to make sure all servers are communicating with the WSOS. Okay, so we can go to the Windows Update, and then we can configure it, or we can configure the local group policy for the domain controllers or for the servers if you will not work with the Active Directory policy. Okay, so we can tell him right click and run gpedit .msc and OK, and then we can configure it from the same location, administrative templates, and then Windows components, and then Windows Update. So you can configure the WSOS group policy from the Active Directory or from the local group policy of the server. Okay, okay, I think now we can make a uh, gp update command, but before that we need also to check. Here I'm checking different group policies for the section concerning the WSOS configuration. So we can see Windows components, and we'll check the Windows update. Okay, we will leave everything as is. Okay, this is the intranet or the WSOS name server. So now we can run the GP update. Okay, we can run GP update. Okay, we will run the command to update the group policy, and then we will run the WSOS script, okay, to force the server to change its destiny or this destination, not to update or to take Windows updates from the Microsoft website, but to get it from the WSOS. So I think we can go, and let's me go further here. Let me see. This is the WSOS report. Okay, here it is. This is the WSOS report. We will run it on the domain controller, and you can run it on the file server as well. Any server. This will help. So this will help you guys to change the destination from a Microsoft website to the WSOS server. Okay, just wait for a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. We have stopped at this part when we are trying to run a WSOS script. This script, basically what it will do, it will force the server or the workstation on which the script will run to go to the WSOS and ask for updates instead of using the Microsoft website. So this is basically what the script will do. After doing that, what we will do, we will check for update on the server or the workstation that this script will run on it, and then we will open a PowerShell command and run, or a PowerShell session and run, or a PowerShell window and run this command. This will make the server report or the workstation report to the WSOS, and it will be recorded and it will be in the database of the WSOS. Okay, so this is, we need to run the 3 lines or these 3 steps on any workstation or server that maybe sometime some servers or workstation doesn't report automatically to the WSOS. So these 3 steps will solve this problem. If you have a workstation or a server that doesn't report to the WSOS, you can run the script and then check for update and then run this command to make it report to the WSOS. So here we can see that this is the first step. We can see now it is doing a couple of things. Actually, here it is stopping some services and then making some registry keys or applying some registry keys, and then start certain services at the end. So this all will what it will do, they will make the server workstation report to the WSOS. Okay, but let me do something here. If I try to get this script and make Google Broad analyze it, if we go to the script, let me go to the script. Here are the scripts, and let's see if we open that, and then no, not this one. This is the WSOS report. Let's see if we run it like that, and Control A and Control C, and let's see if Google Bard can analyze it. Okay, let's see, analyze this script and explain it in simple terms. Mhm. This script you provide is PowerShell script that is used to reset Windows Update. It does this by stopping the bits and WS services, removing the Windows Update related registry keys, and then starting the service. So what he is doing basically here, he is resetting Windows Update, the service of Windows Update. Why he's doing this? To force it to communicate with the WSOS to get its Windows Update instead of Microsoft websites. Okay, the first line, stop service name bits WS service force, stops the background intelligent transfer bits service and Windows Update automatic or Windows Update automatic update service. These services are responsible for downloading and installing WSOS updates. Okay, the next line, this is a registry key, removes the registry keys or the following registry keys: account, domain SID. This key stores the domain SID of the computer, I think. Okay, this is stores. So what he's doing here, he removes the registry or the domain SID for the computer. Ping ID, this key stores a unique identifier for the computer. SOS client ID, this stores the Windows Update client ID. SOS client validation, this key stores a flag that indicates whether the Windows Update client has been validated. The error action silent continue parameter tells PowerShell to continue running the script even if an error occurs while deleting the registry keys. The third line, that is deleting some files from a certain folder, deletes the software distribution folder. This folder contains temporary files that are used by Windows updates. The fourth line, it will start the services that we have stopped before. The fifth line, WC authorization, this resets the Windows Update authorization and forces Windows Update to check for updates. The sixth line, so and so, calls the detect now method on the Microsoft update auto update com object. This method forces Windows Update to check for updates. In simple terms, the script stops the Windows Update services, removes the Windows Update related registry keys, deletes the software distribution folder, restarts the Windows Update services, resets the Windows Update authorization, and forces Windows Update to check for updates. This script can be used to troubleshoot problems with Windows Update. For example, if you are having a problem installing Windows Update, you can run this script to reset Windows Update and resolve that issue. Let's say what could be the relation of this script to WSOS. The script profile can be reset when the on a computer that is configured to use WSOS. Okay, is the server so and so. When we run the script, it will first stop so and so. The script restarts so and so. Okay, the script then starts bits and US services, resets the Windows Update authorization, and force Windows Update to check for updates. This will cause Windows Update to resynchronize with WSOS and download the update. So this is the basic function, or this is the basic reason why we are running this script, to resync with WSOS and download the latest update. So this is the main purpose of the script. Okay, therefore the relationship between the script and WSOS is that the script can be used to reset Windows Update on a computer that is configured to use WSOS. This can be useful if you're having problems installing WSOS updates on a computer that is using WSOS. Okay, so this script basically pushes the client to update with or get his update from the WSOS. Okay, this may be a good thing, but let me see another answer from or let me see another answer from I need to have it from Ping AI. Okay, let's see that. Okay, so let's see, analyze this script. Okay, copy, and let's see if uh, if Ping will see something here more precise, and let's see if we can do that and tell him enter. And let me get another answer from POE. Okay, this is another one. Okay, let's see. Let me go to Claude, okay, and give him this one and see. And its relation with WSOS. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's see here what he said. You have to say. This script used to reset the Windows Update components on a computer. Here is each line do. Okay, the same. He's saying the same as Google Bard. Okay, summary. This script stops the relevant services, removes specific registry keys and update files, restart the service, and force a check for updates to reset the Windows Update components on a computer. Not that bad, but I can't understand a lot from it. So let's see here what this had to say. So if we go there and see Claude, what does it say? This is a script used to reset the Windows Update client on a Windows machine and force it to redetect available updates. Here to communicate with the WSOS. Here is a simple explanation of what it do. Stop the bits and WSOS service. These services are related to Windows Update and background transfers. Stopping them prevents errors during the reset. Remove some registry keys. This clean up cached Windows Updates client ID and info that may causing issues. Resetting the Windows Update ID. This is also to initialize a new connection with the WSOS. Okay, delete the distribution software folder. This is where Windows Update stores temporary files and metadata. Deleting it forces a clean refresh. Restart bits and WSOS or WU services. Reset the Windows Update client authorization. That clears any cache authorization data. Force Windows Update detection. Okay, so in summary, it completely resets and reinitializes the Windows Update client and setting. It is often used to troubleshoot update issues or force a machine to recheck for updates from WSOS after configuration changes. WSOS is so and so. So this is basically to troubleshoot problems with servers and clients not communicating with the WSOS. Okay, resetting everything, deleting everything. Okay, to make a clean connection with the WSOS. Okay, this is basically what it will do. So this is something to note. Now, if you go and uh, now try to initialize, so we have done already run the script. Now we need to run an update. If you go to the setting and then run Windows Update, setting and then go to run Windows Update. Okay, setting, let's make it further. Okay, setting, then update. Okay, so we have run the script, then we need to run the update. So this is basically if you are making or using the troubleshooter for the Windows. Okay, now we make check for updates. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we'll initialize an update. Okay, and then after that we need to register this client or server with the WSOS. So the three steps: run the WSOS report or WSOS script, then initialize or check for updates, and then run a command to register the client with the WSOS server. So these are the three things you need to do if you have a problem with a server or a client trying to communicate with the WSOS. Okay, so this is basically we run a PowerShell command. Okay, run as administrator, open, run as administrator. Okay, so we can go further here. Now to run this command, okay, and then check, go to the WSOS console and check if the client has already registered with the WSOS. This is basically what we will do. Okay, so now I think our video are finished. I will stop the servers and this concludes for our video. The upcoming video will begin working with the MDT itself through its graphical interface. Hope this video in front of you all and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.